Welcome to Whistleblowers in partnership with Wix Trade Pro. Coming up.
Referee trots across and in his head he's thinking, I've made a mistake. He goes to the monitor, reviews what he's seeing and decides to go against the VAR.
It's quiet in the dressing room. It's not shouting matches or anything like that. Definitely not exempt from criticism, but he is stepping up in terms of trying to rally the troops.
I am old enough to remember Aberdeen winning the league, right? Over 40 years. 40 years, that's ridiculous, isn't it?
Wow, 40 years.
Welcome to Whistleblowers, the podcast, which we're going to call the PF podcast, the post-Felix podcast, because life will never be the same after Felix White came on last week. Massive thank you to him once again. Right, here we go. As tradition dictates, the one and only Mark Clattenburg is here. All right, Mark.
Thank you very much.
And we also have Ian Ladyman.
Bring back Felix.
Bring back Felix. The campaign starts here.
Do you think he's missing him so much? He's got like withdrawal symptoms.
Ian looked at him like a cocker spaniel would look at
a biscuit.
Yeah.
He did. Every week Ian delivers a little bit of magic as a journalist, that if it's not a bear scratching his arse with two paws, it's a cocker spaniel looking at a guy like he's a biscuit. Great to see you, boys. Mark Clattenburg, you were at Arsenal last night.
I was.
Did they get you a nice hotel?
No, it wasn't.
Who was paying you to go to the football last night?
Amazon Prime.
There we go.
And it was a pleasure watching a good team.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what I watched most of the time? I was obsessed with Simeone.
Yeah.
And just his actions and his reactions and his passion. And at one time, he didn't agree with the referee's decision. And he, instead of shouting at the ref, because I think he always gets sent off, he's already been sent off early in the season, he goes back to the bench, takes his jacket off to reset himself, realised it's freezing cold, puts it straight back on.
14 years as manager, you told me, Ian Ladyman.
Yeah, I was also at the Emirates last night for the game. I was disappointed that Mark didn't come into the press room to see me beforehand.
He did not.
But there we go. Once a week is probably enough. Yeah, 14 years Simeone at Atletico Madrid. Incredible stretch. Great achievement. I'd love to know how many offers from the Premier League he's had in that time, because there must have been several.
Yeah. Interesting conversation about that last night, because when I came across Simeone many times refereeing Atletico Madrid, couldn't speak English. And I made that question last night of one of the girls that works for Amazon. And I said, does he speak English? Zero. So if it's zero English and he's decided for so many years that he doesn't want to learn the language, then I'm not sure his destination will be the Premier League.
It's a really good point. Although obviously Pochettino didn't speak any English when he rocks up at Southampton, did he? It didn't hold him back.
I'm saying that, but it was limited.
He did it brilliantly, Pochettino, I thought. Yeah. There's a great Matthew McConaughey interview floating around at the moment, and how he turned down films at 7.5 million.
Seen that, yeah.
And 10 million, and 14 million, and then he started to get interested. There has to be a number, though, hasn't there?
Yeah.
There has to be an offer.
You would think so. And also, that going back to your point, Mark, about the English, obviously he's had English players pass through that dressing room with Kieran Trippier and Conor Gallagher and players like that. It's interesting that there's been that he doesn't even speak a bit of English, because you just tend to find this is I'm now sounding like a arrogant little Englishman, but it's just a fact that in the football world out there, the football community in Europe, it is very, very rare to find a manager of any note or experience who does not speak English. Yeah. It's just the way it is.
I would love him in the Premier League. I think his box office.
He would be amazing. Yeah.
I remember refereeing. It was Madrid PSV. It was like last 16 of the Champions League, and he's jumping up and down, going absolutely ballistic, probably at some of my decisions. And I went across and warned him, because the fourth official said you need to warn him. That was before you give a yellow card.
Yeah.
So I went across and warned him, and he's gone, I'm sorry, like didn't speak English, but like when they put their hands up, it's in a gesture of sorry, I turned back round, give another decision, he's jumping up exactly the same, and I looked across at him, but he gave this beautiful smile, and you think, what can I do here?
Is there a France 98 hangover for him if he came here?
You mean the David Beckham thing?
David Beckham, yeah.
No. It's so far in the rearview mirror now that many people who watch Premier League won't even remember it. And those of us who do remember it, I don't think we really care anymore. So I don't think there would be. One thing I think the caricature that you're referring to, Mark, of the kind of eccentric, volatile, combustible, touchline lunatic actually works against him.
Do you?
Well, because there's much more to him than that. He's a very, very fine football coach. He's taken his team to heights that nobody expected him to reach. And I think the other side of it maybe is talked about more than it probably should be, and maybe more than serves him well.
He'd be great at Hibs.
He's really good at what he does.
Is the payoff there? He'd really fit Hibs, I think. He'd really fit Hibs. Right, new section of the podcast this week: the good, the bad, and the barmy.
Yeah, good section.
Happy with that name?
I think it's, but
Who
depends
made
what
it
it's about.
I thought about it.
What's it about?
Let's find out what it's about. Right, so it's a new section, the good, the bad, and the barmy, with a resident referee, Mark Clattenburg. You're going to bring a refereeing decision of your choice every single week, Mark, and there are a few to choose from this weekend, which you either liked, loathed, or found completely weird. So there are a few to choose from. Jared Gillett is the name that's been floating around.
Yeah.
Is that the one you're going to go for?
Yeah, that's the one I'm going to go for. I'm not sure if it's the good, the bad, or the barmy. Because
yeah.
it's got a bit of everything, hasn't it, really? I think if we go back, it was Crystal Palace Bournemouth.
Yeah.
And it was one of the, I'm not saying it's the first time, but it's certainly, very sporadic that a referee goes to or gets called by the VAR to go to the on-field monitor. Mm-hmm. The referee trots across, and in his head he's thinking, I've made a mistake. Obviously. He goes to the monitor, reviews what he's seeing, and decides to go against the VAR, which is unusual.
I think it was a fabulous moment, Mark. I think it was a fabulous moment, and I'm glad that you've highlighted it, because it was one of the things that I took from the Premier League weekend.
In a great weekend, in a great game.
In a great game, 3-all game. It's so rare, okay, to the point that you and all of us in a football stadium or at home on the telly knows that when a referee is called to the monitor, you just think, oh, he's going to reverse his decision. Yeah, that's not what that should be about.
Yeah. It has become that, hasn't it?
It has become that. It's become a foregone conclusion, and that is not what it should be about. It should be about a referee being offered the chance to have another look from a different angle and then make his own mind up. And the feeling that the media have, and I think the football public have, is that a referee goes to the monitor almost like a guy who's walking the plank. He knows that when he gets there, he's going to fall off the end, realise he's made a mistake, and he's going to have to put his hands up. So the fact that Jared Gillett said, no, thanks for that, guys. Thanks for giving me the opportunity, but I'm happy with what I've done. And I wish we could sit here and say it was going to be like a real landmark line in the sand moment, and from now on they're all going to do it, but we know they're not. No, but sadly, we know that they're not.
They're not going to do it, but I think, looking back at the challenge itself, it was fairly central. The argument can be, and that's the only argument that Jared Gillett had, was that the ball was slightly changing direction. Well, that's slight. It wasn't going clearly towards the goal line. It was, the touch line. This was just a slight deviation. Top players, within 2 strides, he would have picked that ball up. Next touch, he's cutting inside. A bit like we saw with Harvey Barnes at Benfica, where he scores a second goal. If that defender brings down Harvey Barnes, because of Harvey Barnes' angle, you think, well, that's not a goal scorer. But it was a goal scorer because he scored. Good players can at least have a shot on goal. It's not, I think everybody used to have this impression years ago, it used to be clear and obvious. Yeah. So it used to be, he's got to be able to score. Now it's a goal scoring opportunity, which is just a shot at goal. Are we saying that was it the Bournemouth player,
but to me,
couldn't get that shot on goal?
Yeah. Because the standard's so high now. So every single chance.
We're not talking about grassroots football.
I know, but for me, Mark, that doesn't matter. Whether Jared Gillett was right or wrong, is the fact that he had the courage to do it that I think makes this a big moment. I don't really care whether he's right or wrong.
I love that.
The fact he had the courage to stick with what he believed to be the right decision.
But imagine, right, the next level now. I think it's a landmark moment, this. And I think this is where FIFA, certainly I hope in the World Cup, would take it to a new level, where that should have been, they both come together, they review the incident, and you can hear the conversation between the two, because the broadcasters can hear the VAR. They can hear what the VAR was saying, because what came out of the conversation, Darren England was trying to force Jared Gillett into changing his decision. He was forcing the referee's decision. Yeah. Why? It's not the VAR's decision. It's because Darren England's given him the angle, saying I've given you everything, this is a clear red card. It's not the VAR's job to dictate to the referee what's right and what's wrong. It's the referee's decision's final. And Jared Gillett, and I agree, it's a landmark moment that Jared Gillett has said, no, I'm the referee, it's my final call, right or wrong. But I would love to hear what we see in rugby union, where the referee stands there and says, look, give me that foot.
It's
I think the ball's going a little bit wider. I think it's not a good... And I would, you know what? I would be appreciative if I can hear both the conversations, I can understand the conversations, Even if I don't agree with the decision, how can you argue with the process?
What will it be like next time that Darren England and Jared Gillet are in the same room together? Will there be a bit of kind of bit of tension there?
It's Gillet, by the way, not Gillett.
Yeah. Well,
Gillet, you put on.
But he started calling him Gillet halfway through the podcast.
I just call him anything.
It was Jared Gillet when we started.
I just call him anything. I'm posh, you say, from the north.
Let's just call him the Aussie guy.
Yeah, the Aussie guy.
What would it be like the next time the Aussie guy and Darren England, the English guy, are in the room together? Seriously, will there be a bit of tension there?
Of course it'll be. I think because Darren England will be, because it makes Darren England look stupid. That
he's been shown up, hasn't he, Darren England, I think.
I would feel it as a VAR, because as a VAR, he's given them the angles.
Evidence.
And given them enough evidence, and I think, as a referee, he'll feel that whose mistake it is, because somebody's mistake. Somebody's going to get...
I like it.
We're not on the playground here, guys. It's nobody's mistake. It's two opinions. They're supposed to be a team, these guys.
Somebody's going to get punished. They're supposed financially.
They're supposed to be a team, okay? So Darren England has done his job by flagging up the fact that he's not sure about Gillet's decision, okay? Gillet does his job by saying, thanks for that, Darren, but I'm relaxed with it. Yeah. There should be no tension there. That's how it should work. What do you mean someone's going to lose money? What does that mean?
Because there's a bonus system within the refereeing world. It was when I was a referee. If you make a mistake, you don't get your bonus for the game.
What about the McAllister incident then, with the head knock in the Liverpool game?
I feel for Michael Oliver. I thought Michael Oliver refereed the game really, really well. It's the hardest game in the Premier League. Manchester United, Liverpool, without doubt. When I used to referee, it was without doubt the hardest game because of the rivalry, because the players at that time, there were, Gerrard and Rooney, they wouldn't speak to each other, Gary Neville. There was just so much tension. And there's still a lot of rivalry with the fans, not so much with the players now, but certainly the rivalry. And I think Michael Oliver refereed the game superbly well. So I'm going to put that side of it across because sometimes referees don't get praise. And everybody's criticising, because we're in this world of blame, when players jump for the ball, and Michael Oliver's made a judgment call. 3 players have jumped for the ball. You can argue Van Dijk's the one that catches McAllister.
He is.
Michael Oliver is judged that not to be a foul. Acceptable. He's called it within reason. Within a split second, he's got to make that judgment. He's not a doctor, but from his experience, he will know how the player falls. It could be, for example, players scream now, which is a great example. When players scream, you think, at least he's got some level of consciousness. So that's the point. You don't know if McAllister screamed, so you don't know we can only see the video footage. You've also got the way McAllister moves on the ground. Michael Oliver can see, has there any movement? Is he knocked out or anything like that? Because you can normally tell. But one of the most difficult things for refereeing, and I saw it again in the Arsenal Atletico Madrid game, where the referee stopped the game immediately because he thinks it's a head injury. And guess what? The minute the whistle goes, the player pops up.
Yeah.
It makes the referee look stupid. Yeah. And all the crowd went against the referee last night in the Arsenal Madrid game because of that reason, because the referee stopped the game and everybody's moaning because we're complaining that the game's not flowing correctly. There's too much time in stoppages. So we've got all of these elements that the referees have to deal with. And Michael Oliver's, within a split second, has gone, I'm letting the game continue. And before he's even thought the next step, Man United are on the break. And in a very, very good attack and break. We're not talking about an attack where there's 5 defenders against 5 attackers. We're talking a 2-on-1 situation developed. If Michael Oliver blew the whistle at that time, think about the Manchester United camp, how they would have reacted to that, because it's not a foul. Yes, there's a potential injury, which we know that the rules, if it's a head injury, the referee must stop it. But all of these issues come into the referee's mind. He's allowed the game to continue, Manchester United score, and that's why we're talking about it. But for me, I feel for referees.
I think it's
because
really
there's too many players faking injuries, which are making referees' life difficult.
I think it's a really good analysis.
Simulation.
I think it's a very good point. All I would say, I suppose, is it not as simple as it's the rule? If a player has a head injury, you stop the game. Is it not as simple as that?
It's not as simple as that, because you've got to work out, is it a head injury?
Is it real?
Because is it real, and is it a head injury? Because when you watch them 3 players jump up, it's only on the side that Michael Oliver hasn't got, where you can see the arm.
Yeah.
going into
It just looks
McAllister's
like a
head.
sporting collision. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. Yeah.
And football is so quick, Ian. You know, we were watching it in slow motion. I've heard so many people talking about this over the weekend. And sometimes football has to take ownership.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, players have been, I wouldn't use the word cheating.
I would.
I'm not so harsh. You would, but I'm not going to be as harsh as that.
You cried wolf.
I'm going to say coached into it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say cheating. You can argue that. I'm going to say coached, because players are coached to do it.
I've said this before on podcast, Mark, and I'm quite happy to say it again, is that all players are cheating all of the time, as far as I'm concerned. They're all cheating all of the time.
Right, it's been a brutal few weeks at Anfield, Liverpool's worst run in I think 10 years, since 2014. The weird thing is they're still dominating possession. I think the highest possession in the league, most progressive passes, which is a term I've never heard before. Joint top for shot creating actions. Horrible terminology that as well. But they are falling apart at the back, considering over a goal a game more than Arsenal. Konate and the fullbacks having a stinker. You know what I think? It's missing Andy Robertson. That's the problem. Of course it is. But we can move on from that. We are joined by a friend of the podcast, joining us from the Linton Travel Tavern, where his Corby trouser press is working overtime right now. It's the Daily Mail's Merseyside reporter, the gorgeous, pouting, fragrant, mini-skirted, and slightly embarrassed Lewis Steele, because he is in a weird hotel room. Lewis, where are you?
Well, I feel like I'm in the chair of the Graham Norton show. You're about.
Yeah.
But
Tell us a dirty story.
I'm in Frankfurt. Lovely little city. I don't know if you've ever been, but it's a lovely place down by the river. Some questionable characters near the train station, though.
Oh yes.
But, yeah.
I was in Frankfurt for the Euros for a while, and those questionable characters will be the same ones that I saw.
They were probably our colleagues, weren't they? Later.
Not saying anything.
Right, let's quickly move on from where we're heading here. Lewis, there's an awful lot to get into with Liverpool at the moment, and fair play to Mark Clattenburg. He said, controversially, in a conversation about Mo Salah's contract, that he thinks he's past his best. He's on the turn. It's not a great season. What's happened to Mo Salah?
Well, I think, first of all, you have to say he's 33. So he's not getting any younger, is he? He's the wrong side of 30. And I think it's wrong to say that he's way past his best, because it was only 2 months ago that he was putting up a season with 57 goal involvements. But this season, he's just looked absolutely shot of confidence for the first time, maybe, in his Liverpool career. I go back to the game at Chelsea 2 or 3 weeks ago. He had 3 chances where last season he would be wheeling away celebrating as soon as the ball's left his foot. They ended halfway in the shed end. On Sunday against United, he was through on goal, just scooped it wide. I think the big problem he's got is he doesn't have his mate Trent Alexander-Arnold behind him anymore. And that link-up was in the tight games, like if a team was playing a low block like United did, Trent would just pick out Salah, he'd be through on goal and he'd score. And he doesn't have that anymore, and he's got to also play with, he's sharing the space with Florian Wirtz, the space that Salah likes to cut inside into. Wirtz or whoever's there now is there. He's got a proper number 9 in Isak or Hugo Ekitike, and they're sort of getting in his way. He doesn't have the link up with them yet. And I think it wouldn't be a surprise to me if Slot drops him in one game, and maybe against Brentford on Saturday.
It's something I've often wondered about the Liverpool team, is that the intensity they've played with for a long time has to, at some point, you know, the famous book is The Body Keeps the Score. And it's definitely happened to Andy Robertson. But do you believe the argument that Salah's just beginning to look like he's lost that clinical edge?
Why I said that wasn't because I think Mo Salah I just think Mo Salah is a great player. Mm-hmm. Just what I saw last season, I don't know if Lewis seen it as well, because Lewis watches them more than I did, but the games I watched, certainly in Champions League, was that he wasn't going past fullbacks like he used to. That's maybe because it's an age thing. But what I used to say, Mo Salah getting most of his goals when there was fast breaks, Mo Salah had that extra yard. He'd go past the fullback, ping. Now he's not going past them fullbacks as he used to, and he's having to cut inside. He's then, like Lewis said, probably short of confidence now, where when he's cutting back inside, he's losing the ball. That's why I made that argument, not because Mo Salah's 33, because I think if 33 he can still play. But I just felt he wasn't. The Premier League was probably catching up. Can Mo Salah do it in another country, 100%. But I just think the Premier League is so brutal and so quick in the way the game's played. I thought he was going to struggle. That's why I said.
I think there's a truth about Salah, and it's that this run of poor form actually goes back to about March. It does go back to March. As far as I'm concerned, he was. If you go back to Liverpool losing losing over 2 legs to PSG. He was anonymous in both games. He was utterly invisible in the Carabao Cup defeat to Newcastle at Wembley. And as Liverpool not stumbled over the line, but they kind of stuttered a little bit, didn't they, towards the end of last season? But as they won the league, he wasn't particularly front and centre there either. And I think that I think that's carried on. And I think it's. Now listen to what you say there, Lewis. And of all the things that you've said, that all the points you make it's a confidence thing. You can just see it in his eyes. Yeah. You can see it in his eyes. Salah is an instinctive player, more than some forwards are. He does what his body tells him to do, and at the moment, I just think he's getting so many mixed signals that he just looks confused. When he scooped that one over into the Kop at the far post on Sunday, he just looked bewildered, as if he couldn't quite understand himself how he'd missed it.
Lewis, maybe you could answer that question then. You know, if you've just signed the contract for over £300,000, a huge contract in the history of Liverpool, do you think you've got reason to be a bit pissed off? You know, how dare you have a dip in confidence when you've just demanded this king's ransom?
Yeah, it's a fair point. I was just looking at the stats. It's 4 goals in 17 since March. That's terrible for Salah's standards. The whole of last season, the whole narrative was, won't he sign this contract? It felt like he was always going to, but it's almost like as soon as he did, form fell off a cliff. And as I said a minute ago, he just doesn't have that intrinsic link up with the new players. I'm sure you'll ask me about the summer window, but one thing is, I feel like Slot has changed too much, and Salah is maybe having sort of seeing that in his performances, because they're all getting in his way. And the things that he was used to be doing so well, that he now has to think twice about everything. So he will score a goal, and he will find that confidence again soon. But the whole reason, one of the biggest reasons for Liverpool's slump this season has been his form, and it's been very poor, to say the least.
But he was also playing. You say he's having to get used to playing with centre forward. He's played with centre forward before. He played with Roberto Firmino brilliantly. He played sporadically well with Nunes over the last couple of years. The problem one of the problems with Liverpool at the moment is that Slot on Sundays he picked the wrong team. You know, Liverpool's best attacking player this season has been Ekitike by a mile, and Slot clearly feels that because he's now got Alexander Isak, he's got to play Isak, and Salah's got to play Salah. That was a mistake. Ekitike should have played up front. Isak was invisible on Sunday. Ekitike should have played up front. That might have helped Salah a little bit, because Salah was essentially playing with nobody to his left. Isak may as well not have been on the field. He was, for a team that had all of the ball, Liverpool were playing without centre forward. He was invisible.
I think it looks quite bad on both those players at the moment.
What do you mean?
Isak, after making such a fuss to get there, and I know it takes time to bed.
I'm devastated about it.
Did you see the new? What was the Newcastle Twitter comment, Lewis, about what was it to Liverpool?
Oh, there's been a war of words for it. I can't remember exactly what they said, but
I should know. It was something like there's no buyback option.
Yeah.
Was it? Thank God.
There's no buyback option.
But do you think that are we trying to? And I know Salah's having a dip in form, and we know that Mo Salah doesn't track back, for example. So defensively, at the moment, Liverpool seem to be defensively struggling. Either Konate is having a poor game, Van Dijk had a poor game Sunday. It just doesn't seem like, if you look at Arsenal are really strong at the back, and they've got options. Defensively, I feel Liverpool are weak, and you was no football better than probably I do, but Conor Bradley's a fullback. Frimpong, but they make a change and put Zabodslai, who is a midfielder, is a fullback. Is that the problem, Lewis, that they're trying to cover positions with players that they haven't got?
So all these signings, it's like I think the best word to describe it is like a Galactico window, like Real Madrid used to have back in the day. or even in recent history. And Carlo Ancelotti would always just come up with different systems every year. When Benzema left, he was like, oh, well, I'll play Jude Bellingham as a false nine. Slot's trying to play the same way as he did last season with completely different players, and half of them don't seem to fit the system. So Kirkes is probably the best example of a player who just looks absolutely shot of any sort of confidence. He's brilliant at Bournemouth, bombing up and down the left. That's what he's used to doing. And now Slot's got him sort of tucking in, as Robertson did. Frimpong, Slot doesn't seem to trust him as a right back. He can't seemingly not defend as well as a right back should be able to. He didn't know what to do with Florian Wirtz. He's tried him through the middle, he's tried him on the left. And the whole Ekitike thing is just it's weird because he has, as Ian said, has been Liverpool's best signing. Isak has done nothing to warrant starting against Chelsea and Man United, whereas you've got your top scorer coming off the bench for 20 minutes when Liverpool need to score a goal. It just
What's the word inside the club, Lewis? What's the word inside the club about this? Are people concerned about it? Because I think everybody was salivating, neutrals were salivating about all the signings, but it's not. It doesn't look like it's going to turn quickly, does it?
No, I think the word in the club is one of calm because they are only 4 points off the top in the Premier League. Can easily be rectified. They spent Monday and Tuesday pretty much in the analysis rooms, going through clips. Slot was showing them what was wrong. And the fact that training seemed to be delayed on Tuesday is probably because Slot was spending a bit more time in the analysis room showing them things. And he's basically saying, we hit the post 3 times on Sunday. Gakpo missed a complete sitter. Salah missed a few sitters the week before at Chelsea. They could have easily beat Galatasaray in that Champions League game a few weeks ago. So Slot's message is, if we keep creating these chances, we will eventually turn them into goals.
And do you know what, Lewis? He's right. He's right, okay? I don't want to be a kind of the pragmatist in the room, but the fact is, Liverpool have just lost 4 games by the odd goal, all right? 4 games by the odd goal. They could and should have beaten Man United 4-2 on Sunday, and nobody would have gone home surprised by that, given the opportunities. Everyone was saying in the summer that Liverpool had won the league already because the players that they bought. It's palpable nonsense because nobody knows the way that players will settle into a team.
You said it, didn't you?
I think
you said it.
I actually didn't say it. I said that who knows? Everyone says, "Oh, Florian Wirtz, that's the best signing of the summer." Let's see. What I'll say is they've bought very good players. They've got very, very good players. I'd be really, really surprised if those players in 3-4 months' time are not sitting there saying, "Oh, yeah, they're doing quite well. Oh, look, Liverpool have just won 7 on the bounce. What a surprise!" They have got a problem at centre half. That's why they tried to buy Mark Gay. Okay, they've got a problem at centre half. They're light at centre half, but I think that there's been, as there always is in English football, in English media, an overreaction to what has happened. What is happening at Liverpool? I think it will be. Okay, I just do.
Another thing, Lewis, on that point is about set pieces. There is nothing like a team with a lack of confidence. You can sense it in a stadium, can't you? I think, but they're just not handling set pieces well at all. What's going on there? If teams seem to have a lot of focus on handling set pieces, so why are they getting it so badly wrong?
It's the $1 million question that Slot keeps mentioning without being asked about it in press conferences. Negative set piece balance, he calls it. They just hired a set piece coach, Aaron Briggs, and I was watching him in training a few months ago, and they were practicing the set pieces, and they were doing all the long throws and all that, and they didn't score a single one when they were doing that practice run.
Great observation.
And at the time, it was funny because it was 37 degrees. It was in Japan. We were all absolutely sweltering. It was funny, but now you see it on the pitch. When they get a corner, you don't really fancy them to score, and you should, because you look at Van Dijk, he's one of the best headers of the ball in the Premier League. You look at Konate, massive lad. Ekitike is a big fella as well. But you actually look at their defence, and overall, apart from the 2 centre-halves, when they're defending set pieces, they're quite a small team. So you look at Arsenal, and they've got Gabriel, Saliba, Calafiori, Timber, Rice. They're all big lads. City have got Haaland in there, and they've got John Stones, Diaz, Ake, all good headers of the ball. Liverpool, apart from the two centre-halves, don't really have that because Frimpong and Bradley, they're both under 6 foot. Kurtz is a small fella. McAllister's obviously quite small. Gravenberg's got a little bit about him. Soboslai's not massive. They're quite a small team and they're really struggling with their set pieces. And teams are targeting on them. And on Saturday, they go to Brentford, which I think Pep Guardiola described as like going to a dentist appointment because it's a hard place to go. And they are really good at the set pieces. And I'm sure Keith Andrews will have spent this week working on his set pieces with Brentford. They've got loads of big lads, and that they could easily. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they nicked a 1-0 or a 1-1 against Liverpool on Saturday.
It's cheaper going to Brentford than going to having a dentist appointment.
Before we let you go, what is the word about the dressing room? What's morale like in the camp?
Well, it's quiet in the dressing room. I think it's not shouting matches or anything like that. I think Virgil van Dijk is definitely not exempt from criticism, but he is stepping up in terms of trying to rally the troops. Obviously, must say as well, like the whole squad is still sort of struggling after the whole tragic Jota stuff. So that, not using it as an excuse, but it's always something that's in the background of everything that goes on. You know, every time they come into the training ground, every time they hear the fans singing his name, that's definitely playing its part in some ways. But I think the dressing room is relaxed. The problem Slot has is everything seems to be going wrong at once. And compare that to Man City last season, for example, the defending champions a year ago. It was the same there. Everything went wrong. Rodri was out. Multiple players sort of form fell off a cliff. Haaland didn't look fit. Foden had whatever troubles at this. Everything was going wrong at once. It's the same really with Liverpool. But what I would say is none of them are terminal in the same way that City's were. It's not like they've got players out for the season. It's not like some of the players whose form has dipped has fallen off completely and irreversible. And I think it will start to click together. But Slot definitely needs it to happen sooner rather than later because they can't afford to go 7 points behind in the title race.
Lewis, great to have you on. Thank you very much. Our Merseyside man, Lewis Steele, will let you get back to Frankfurt and the pub. We know now that we're in partnership with Wix Trade Pro. Now, we all know the real pros want to spend as much time on the job as possible rather than kicking around in store, don't they?
Exactly. And with Wix Trade Pro, you save 10% every time you shop in store or online. No minimum spend. That's like a guaranteed 3 points every week.
VR's checked it and it's true.
Right, and here's the real time saver. Wix Click and Collect, order online, you head straight to collect in store, grab what you need, and you're back on site before half time. How about that?
Which allows you more time to get the job done.
Download the Wix Trade Pro app today, sign up, simple as that.
Terms and conditions apply.
It's an interesting time of football because it does feel like we're in a bit of an evolution, right? I think we've looked at the Premier League in particular through the lens of the dominance of Manchester City and Liverpool for a long time because, you know, if you drop points, you think the league's lost. But actually, the style of football's changing. The Pep Guardiola fingerprints seem to be wearing off. And we're kind of heading towards a Tony Pulis era.
It wasn't just Tony Pulis, is it?
It's quite a few people. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it does feel like the game, you can see it, can't you? We talked about it a few weeks ago with the sort of kicking it into touch. I mean, it just doesn't seem like football, but there's definitely something going on, Mark, isn't there? There's a new technique, and it is the growing influence of set-piece coaches.
It's interesting because it would go back, 15 years? Mm-hmm. I remember refereeing, for example, Sam Allardyce's teams.
Yep.
And I was playing advantages on the halfway line, which referees do. You want to keep the game flowing. You want a natural progression in games because everybody wants to be entertained. And the abuse I used to take off Sam because I wouldn't give the free kick because he wanted Paul Robinson, for example, when he was at Blackburn Rovers.
Yeah.
He wanted Paul Robinson from the halfway line or just inside his own half to launch the ball into the penalty area. So that style of play and long throws and set plays have been in the game for so many years, and that's what they did. It was only seemed to be when Guardiola came in that the set players seemed to reduce. I'm not saying it had completely reduced, but they reduced. Stoke, for example, under Tony.
Yeah.
what it used to be horrible to referee, because the ball's inside the penalty area, and when the ball's inside the penalty area, the referees have got a harder decision to make. A penalty, it's easy when it's on the halfway line.
Yeah.
But if Rory Delap, what he did, threw it in, and Crouchy or the big lads up front,
Johnny Walters,
would be sniffing around. Even at one point, what did Tony Pulis do when Stoke were playing in Europe? What did he do? Reduced the pitch, and Sam did it at Bolton. They were allowed to slightly reduce it for European nights because they wanted that pitch to be smaller so they could get the ball inside the penalty area. So it's been in for years. We're just seeing a new era of it.
Here's a stat for you.
Go on.
Just thought of this. So this season, 20% of Premier League goals have been headers. 20% of Premier League goals have been headers. Can't speak today. The last time that the percentage was so high was in 2001.
Wow.
That spans my career at the Daily Mail, right? 25 years since. I know it's only October,
is incredible,
but that's a heck of a stat, and that plays to what we're talking about set pieces, about slightly more direct play, about long throw-ins.
Because Jamie Carragher's been really critical of this.
Yeah, Jamie Carragher seems to have a little bee in his bonnet, particularly about the use of long throws. I know someone in football, been in football for years and years and years, who has a real issue with Arsenal's long throws, pointed it out to me after Arsenal went to PSG to play in the Champions League last season and used long throws. And this guy was moaning to me, and I was like, well, hang on a minute. They created 2 really good chances from those long throws in the first 5 minutes of the game. So whatever it takes to get you through the game. Football, it's a very simple truth in football, which is that you can't, and Chris Sutton used to say this to me when we used to do a different podcast, you've got to get up the field. You can't win football matches without getting up the field, okay? Now,
walk the line was the famous line, wasn't it?
Sorry?
Walk the line was what the manager used to say.
How do you get
walk it up the line?
Now, how you get up the field is essentially up to you. There are different ways to do it, as we know, okay? You can do it in 8 passes, you can do it in 1 pass, okay? And we have spent quite a long time, Liverpool under Klopp could be direct, by the way. Let's not pretend that they couldn't. We've spent a long time watching the kind of creed of Guardiola, and can't leave everything at Guardiola's door, for God's sake. But of drawing teams on and then moving the ball quickly through the lines, and all of a sudden you've scored on the back of 8 passes, and it looks beautiful. I would say there can be a beauty in more direct football, without a doubt. Going back to Sam Allardyce, who was criticised often for the way he played at Bolton in particular, and I'll always push back against that. You don't play negative football with Ivan Campo and Yuri Djorkaeff and Nicolas Anelka in your team, for example. But Sam used to say it's about entertainment, and he said, I'm pretty comfortable that when Arsenal come to the Reebok and we beat them 1-0 and we battered them physically and metaphorically.
And Martin O'Neill said it this week.
Our lot are going home feeling entertained. You think the Brentford fans don't go home entertained, okay? You think the Tottenham fans are not going to welcome Thomas Frank's style of football, which is direct, at Tottenham if it wins them games, and they go from 17th where they were under Ange to 5th where they are now. So look, there's always going to be a mix. I'm happy if there's a gamut of it. If we can watch Pep do it his way, and then we can watch Sean Dyche do it the way he'll do it at Forest, I'm happy.
Is it hard at a referee, Mark?
So difficult.
Yeah.
Because you've got that physical challenge. We just said one fixture there that was horrible to referee was Bolton Arsenal. Because Arsene Wenger whinged constantly that his team got bullied. He did. What did Sam always do?
Bully them.
But it wasn't in a way that the referee could interfere. It was the aerial challenges. It was just leaving the arms in. Kevin Davies, what happened? Ball played up towards Kevin Davies. Kevin Davies would scrap for the ball. It was notorious, but it was. I loved that era. Because it was like different styles. You want to see, you don't want to see the game
being played among it all.
That was Southampton's doing last year. They tried to play football. You want Southampton to play their natural way, physicality against Manchester City. It gives you a chance, and it gives you, the different mechanics of the game. 2 points I've got with these long throws and everything else. One, how long it's taken to do these throw-ins, and I don't believe that this time's getting added on. And I'm not sure Arsenal's using it as a tactic. I'm not highlighting Arsenal, but if you time it from when the throw-in's given, normally and I'm not saying every time, but normally it's the opposite fullback because there's one person that can throw the ball longer than the other. It was the same at Stoke with Rory Delap. If it was on the opposite side, Rory would have to go all the way over to the far side and throw it in. And if it went out on the other side of the pitch, Rory would have to run all the way across. It never gets added on.
I'll say something quickly. I know we're going to move on to another section. Firstly, there's too much snobbery in English football. Far too much snobbery in English football. Play the way you want to play. Get yourself a result. You know the mistake that Wenger used to make? The mistake that Wenger used to make, I remember when he used to go to Stoke and play Tony Pulis' Stoke team, right? And he'd go to Stoke and he'd think, oh, right, I've got to pick my bigger players and because I know what they're going to do to us. And they'd get bullied. They'd still get bullied and they'd lose. Ferguson used to take United there and think, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to pick my footballers because we're better at football than this lot. Yeah. And when we've got the ball, we'll play our football. We won't try and do what they do because they're better at that than us. And that was a mistake that Wenger used to make. He used to try and meet fire. Try and meet fire with fire and get burnt and then moan about it.
People loved it. People did love it, didn't they? But the second point I would just want to raise about, and it's an interesting point, 20% of goals have been scored with headers. Mm-hmm. But in the lower leagues, in the Football Association, are wanting to reduce heading. They want to reduce heading in football, but we're seeing now...
Well, heading in training.
But heading in training. By the way, but even now in football, even in youth football matches, they don't want to head the ball.
Well, I was going to say, it's going to happen naturally because in youth football, it's not coached. So it's funny, actually, when you watch young lads playing football, it's pretty much the first thing I was taught. But young boys and girls, I think, look uncomfortable with the ball in the air. It's an unnatural sort of... It's horrible to watch.
I was watching admittedly she's only 6.5, I was watching my daughter play football on Sunday morning, and when the ball came in the air to her, she caught it. She caught it, and then realised what she'd done. Dropped it on the floor and played on.
It's becoming heading the ball now is becoming another art, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, as we were saying before we started the show, Gord, somebody mentioned to me last season, we were talking about goalkeepers, how goalkeepers struggle under crosses in the Premier League these days. And this guy watches a lot of academy football, says to me, in academies nobody crosses the ball. Exactly goalkeepers don't know what it's like to be under pressure under their own crossbar because nobody does it in academy football.
Yep, exactly that. Now, speaking of great football that you can see goalkeepers under pressure with balls being lumped in, Scottish football. It's a really interesting time in Scottish football. I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
And you called it.
I'd like to say I called it. I'm really, really enjoying Scottish football at the moment. And it is because Celtic and Rangers are struggling. And it's amazing how much of a difference it's making because I am old enough to remember Aberdeen winning the league. Right, over 40 years. 40 years, that's ridiculous, isn't it? It was Fergie's Aberdeen beat
Sorry,
Rangers.
is that the last time anyone other than the old firm won the league?
Anybody other than the old firm won the league was over 40. It was 1984, 85.
Amazing.
So even during that Rangers era when they got relegated, Celtic won every league that year.
Yeah.
Was it 4 years, 3, 4?
Well, they won 10 on the road, didn't they?
It was a good few years, it's a remarkable story. And actually, Hearts very nearly won the league after Aberdeen, and it was on the last day of the season. Hibs fans still sing about Albert Kidd scoring for Dundee and stopping them winning the league, which was a great moment. But it could happen again because
you said at the start of the season you thought that team might split Rangers.
I thought Rangers would struggle this season because I just didn't see the Russell Martin thing from the start. Because you need to be, I think you have to be a particular type of person to manage Rangers, and he wasn't that guy. But it's really interesting, this Tony Bloom influence. There's a great interview, if you get a chance to see it, Derek McInnes, with a brilliant guy, Simon, what's his surname? Anyway, escapes me. He used to play Swindon for Decanio. Come on.
Can't think of it.
Anyway, he's a great lad. It's a brilliant interview, Derek McInnes, and he talks about Tony Bloom in detail and exactly how the statistics work, how they get an aggregate score for players at a certain level, so they'll only bring in a player that has a rating of a certain level. And it's working. I mean, it's data-driven madness for me, but it works. You've got to do what else.
Hearts are top and Celtic go there. Celtic go there, don't they, this weekend? 5
points clear. And you mentioned this to me before about a pattern with Brendan Rodgers and his behaviour when he's about to chuck it.
Yeah.
And so it feels like he's fallen into it, isn't he? Absolutely.
So Brendan's out of contract at Celtic at the end of the season, as we know. But Brendan, last time he was at Celtic, in his last year, he all of a sudden appeared everywhere. He was in all the big kind of broadsheet newspapers doing interviews. He was on the TV, and he started that pattern again. There was a big interview that he did on BBC last weekend, talking about his life and talking about how managing in the Premier League is like a honeymoon compared to managing in the old firm. And then he was when they got beat the weekend. He was criticising his squad and not having enough quality in it. It's just classic Brendan. When Brendan is unsettled and feels ready to move, he starts to talk as if people don't know who he is anyway. And I see it again, and it's clear as day to me that Brendan will be back in the English Premier League this time next year. And I, for one, would welcome him back. I like him. I don't think I like him as much as he likes himself, but I like him, and I think he's a very, very good coach. Yeah. But he's clearly starting to move that way.
It's that terrible combination that Celtic have at the moment, where the fans are beginning. They've already turned on the board, protests about that, but they're turning on. I think they're turning on Rodgers a little bit as well now.
Yeah,
but it's
a bad combination.
Brendan's clever as well, isn't he? Mm-hmm. Is he not? He's trying to put the ownership back on the board.
He is,
because he didn't get backed in the summer.
He didn't.
And while you don't get backed, Celtic could have moved even further away from anywhere else in Scotland, but only because they haven't backed the manager, that Celtic have been brought back into the mix, and Hearts have came out of that little pot and broke the mould. But now, what I love about Scottish football, probably for the first time in many years, you've now got teams like Dundee can beat Celtic. That never really happened, did it? Over the years, it was like your Rangers, your Celtic, your Hearts, your Hibs, but now you've got teams are competing against the big sides, and it's good to watch. It's unpredictable, which is what you want to see.
I heard a really interesting thing, and I think you might have suggested that Postecoglou will end up going back to Celtic at some point. Rodgers will leave, Postecoglou will go back. But I heard a really interesting thing, that Postecoglou had just had sign-off for the board for this really advanced renovation of the training facilities, like a really forward-thinking, big, long-term project, and he left the day after it was signed off. Yeah. And it all got scrapped.
Oh, really?
It all got scrapped, which is really interesting, because if Brendan Rodgers leaves and the board need to win people over, would he go back as Brendan Rodgers has done with Celtic? Because when Brendan Rodgers left Celtic the first time, I never thought he could go back.
I don't think he should have gone back. I've said it before, because he won everything the first time. He wasn't going to improve on that. And arguably he hasn't. He'd have a good run in the Champions League last year, I accept. But on the whole, he hasn't. I can see Postecoglou going back there. I totally can. I'm also starting to wonder where Brendan will pitch up in the Premier League. I was thinking about this the other day. I could see him, for example, I could see him at somewhere like Leeds. I could see him at Forest at some point. I think there's so much left in Brendan as a coach. Yeah. He's got this. He's talked about it before. He's got this driving ambition to manage 1,000 games. He hasn't. I don't think he's got there yet. I think Brendan's got 10 years left in him. I absolutely do. So it'd be fascinating to see where he rocks up. I just wonder whether Hearts can defy gravity in a way that Aberdeen couldn't last season, and it always comes down to everything in football. I'm afraid it comes down to money, and money means squad depth. That's exactly it, Gordon. It's squad depth. Can Hearts 1 to 11? Can probably beat Celtic at the weekend. Can Hearts 1 to 20 really compete with Celtic 1 to 20 between now and May? Yeah. And the answer to that, sadly, might be no.
I think Derek McInnes is a really good manager, by the way. But the other thing is that I think Rangers...
Do you think they can, God?
Yeah.
Do you think they can do it?
I do think they can do it. I think this season feels like an anomaly. It feels like something that's different. Yeah.
I think this could be their best chance, because you talk about Aberdeen, Celtic was still okay. Yeah. Rangers were still okay. Yeah. Not as bad as the things are now. Rangers are in turmoil. Celtic are not as good as they were last season. I think Hearts, I'm not saying they're going to win the league, but I think it'll be more, they'll last longer, and I think it'll be more competitive towards the end of the season.
God, it's going to kill you. Kill you if Hearts win the league.
But look, Hibs aren't far off. Like, you've got to remember that we only lost in the 97th minute to them in the derby, in which case the league looks different. But look, they are good. But Hibs are good as well. I think Hibs are good. We've got a good manager, solid foundations at the club. I think it could be really, really interesting.
So I think I know the answer to this question. If you had the choice, would you, given that obviously Hearts winning the league would be great for Scottish football as a whole,
I know where you're going with this.
So would you choose that for the good of the game, or would it just hurt you too much to see your arch enemy lift the title?
It's the worst conceivable position for a Hibs fan, because I think everybody would agree that it's good to see the old firm knocked off their perch. But it was Aberdeen that could do it, you know. I don't know.
By the way, Mark.
No, it's completely different. You can't you can't compare Sunderland to Hearts. Why? Because the Premier League is, you know, we're Leicester. Yeah, the top 6, you know, the top sides are winning the Premier League regularly without Leicester winning normally. But as a fan, if Sunderland won the league, I wouldn't be so bothered. Yeah. Really, I wouldn't. But I think it's different because if you're going to break that 40-year hoodoo of Celtic and Rangers not winning the title, that's worse. Because there's something there that you think, you know what, they've done that we haven't.
Yeah. One last statistic just to finish. The Hearts squad is worth 14% of the Celtic squad.
Wow.
So that shows you, doesn't it? That shows you the terms of the achievement already. It's incredible.
One to keep an eye on for us anyway.
It's great, and I'd highly recommend everybody keeping an eye on it because it's going to be fascinating this league. Yeah. And Rangers' implosion as well is incredible. Danny Role, new manager, turned the job down and is now taking it. So that you're starting on the wrong foot, and again with the Rangers fans. But yeah, good luck to them.
I do love quickly. His first job is to take them to Loch Lomond for a swim.
Wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah, why not?
Get in for a dip, boys. Yeah.
Right, Russell Martin's still there.
He's still in there.
Yeah.
Still looking for his undies.
With Lucy Pinder.
That's not a bad.
No comment.
Could be worse.
No comment. Right, that is it from the latest episode of Whistleblowers. We're back on Tuesday. Remember the socials. You can get in touch on X at BlowersPod, TikTok at Whistleblowers Podcast, Instagram at WhistleblowersPod, and email us whistleblowers@dailymail.com. Mark, have you remembered it?
No.
Excellent.
I'm retired. It's finished.
Can you blow the full-time whistle, please? Thank you very much for watching Whistleblowers. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Remember, episodes every Thursday and Tuesday, and on a Sunday, you'll get our clip of the week.